My name is Alexandra Hoff, and my pronouns are she and her. I grew up in central Pennsylvania. I work as a senior editor for University of New Mexico Press, which is based in Albuquerque, New Mexico. At University of New Mexico Press, we only publish books, so that's our primary project. I am responsible for the editing and the sort of production side of it. I'm in the editorial production and design department. My work is very much production and editorial, so I will get a manuscript from someone in the acquisitions department when it's ready for editing. I'll kind of go through it. I'll make sure that everything's in order, that it's ready for a copy editor. We send it out to the copy editor. I'll end up getting it back from them. Then I do the same thing of going through and making sure that we have all of the pieces. And then in-house, we prepare that for the design teams. We have two in-house designers. And so I'll prepare that manuscript as assigned. My supervisor and I kind of split the projects in half. And we each take a project for design, for production and preparation, and then we each kind of do the proof reviews later. So once it's ready, we've kind of reviewed the manuscript, we've cleaned it up, we've styled it properly for the designers, we pass it off to them. It's then in their court. They end up designing the book, laying it out in InDesign, all of that. And then those go to the author, and they have typically about 3 weeks to review those. And then that'll come back, and we kind of have we have a few rounds of page proofs, reviews. I'm involved with a couple of those. My supervisor ends up doing the final approval for those. And then it's off. It's off to the printer. And then at that point, that's kind of where my role ends. So I think a lot of people, I think it's safe to say, who love to read. I grew up I loved reading. My mom was a college professor of philosophy for 40 years. And so academia, reading, education, it was really in my blood. I just loved reading. And I think when I was in high school, I saw an error in a book and I thought, oh my gosh, I was able to notice them. So I have a high attention to detail, and so I'm able to notice them. And so I'd see them and I'd think, oh gosh, this should be corrected. And then just because I loved reading so much, because I loved writing, and because I had that high attention to detail, I thought this would be wonderful. My friends would always ask me to edit their papers, things like that, and I was always really good at it. And so I thought, oh great, I want to go into editing. I want to work for a publishing house. I applied to several schools when it was time for college, and ended up getting accepted to a lot of schools with good programs in English and writing. Ended up going to Purdue University in West Lafayette, Indiana. Funny, because they're a very big engineering and science school, but they've also got a really great program in writing. The Purdue OWL, the Purdue Online Writing Lab, is a resource that people use all across the country, across the world, for editing tools and tips. And so I majored in professional writing and African American studies, and professional writing had a track for editing and publishing. So I took that track and ended up getting the skills that I needed to strengthen my editing skills, strengthen my writing skills. Did some real life partnerships with organizations, so I got that kind of experience. And Purdue University had a press as well, and they had a job opening up, and I interviewed for that, and they gave me the job as a student, so I got to start doing that. And that was an assistant production editor job with Purdue University Press. And so that's really kind of how I got my start. And at the time, I thought, okay, this isn't trade publishing, this isn't, fiction, this isn't all of these things that I was thinking of, but it's a great experience, it's publishing, why not? And I ended up really falling in love with scholarly publishing and University Press publishing. I moved out here to New Mexico and got this job. So it kind of really, I had a lot of, I did a lot of hard work, but I also had a lot of great people pulling for me and kind of helping wanting to support me and make sure that I could stay in the job. And, they appreciated my skills and my experience. And yeah, it worked out that I just got to land a job in my, my dream career. So I really lucked out. I definitely think my English classes really did help me, especially some, and into that later high school time. We had some different kinds of project. I was fortunate to have a writing class or an English class that we had to write not just, your typical scholarly papers and things like that, but also a short story. Actually getting to write a little bit creatively and writing different kinds of things like that. And even in some of my other classes, having to think critically and write papers, because everybody needs to be a good writer, no matter what your field is in. And so I think just those classes really helped me, strengthen my writing skills and helped me find that passion that I loved writing. I think do your best, and definitely give yourself some grace and kindness as you figure it out. It's not an easy process to even determine what you want to do. Sometimes for people that can take years. I mean, it really depends, and there's nothing wrong with that. So I think making sure that you are kind to yourself, you explore all of your options. If you have an interest, try to give it attention. Try to give it that exploration. Don't think, oh, I might not make this kind of money or I might not make this. If you have that ability, I think it's really important to explore all of your interests and find out what really makes you happy, because that will take you far in what you're doing.